Great day, family. Great day. Once again, it's the Melanin Man, aka a voice of consciousness is the Melanin Man. That's right. So today I just want to share with you, at least want to speak on, what is it today? What or who is in control of you? What or who is in control of you? I've recently come to an awakening, an epiphany, some thoughts relative to me. And so today is the 28th day of June 2022. And that which I've just became aware within me is I thought I resolved all my childhood I thought I'd resolved my childhood issues, whatever they may have been. And what I realized was all I did was manage them. All I did was manage them. All I did was manage them. There was no resolution other than to realize that there was an issue, something happened, something went down, and I needed to deal with it. At the time, it was dealt with. So that doesn't mean it wasn't tucked away in my DNA. Doesn't mean it didn't get stored in the memory of my DNA. You see, every cell has memory. Every cell has memory. Heart cells, spleen cells, liver, kidney, brain cell, you name it, every cell in your body has memory. So what I realized was I never resolved anything. I managed them. So coming up in some terrible times, well, we say terrible, but we made it through, so it wasn't so terrible. But the bottom line is managing them gave me the resolve. I didn't resolve them, however, managing them allowed me to get a resolve. So managing them gave me the integrity that's needed. Managing them gave me the stability, in addition to having someone loving that was stable in my life at a certain time when I needed it. And that's the other side of it. Things happened as they were needed. They didn't always happen when I wanted it. However, I managed my emotions to the extent where feeling hurt and pain, growing up feeling unloved or whatever the feelings were at that time, managing them gave me a level of tenacity, allowed me to become more determined about whatever it was that I placed my focus on. However, I realized I managed my pain. I managed the hurt. And to be really honest, as a child, it's your imagination. You imagine these things. They're not necessarily what it really is, and not to say that it wasn't exactly what it was. However, getting through it allowed me to be stronger as a result of having the experience. And so that's what I've been speaking on every time. If you check my posts or what have you on YouTube, it's more about you getting liberated through having the experience. Your liberation does not come if you are afraid to face whatever it is and see it for what it really is. In other words, being truthful to yourself about whatever it is. right, wrong, bad, good, in or out, up or down. You have to be fearless in facing down whatever it is, be it something that someone else has done versus how you're dealing with your feelings about excuse me, what someone else has done or what you think someone else has done. It's always about you, how you handle, maintain, manage. I learned how to manage my pain very well. I learned how to manage whatever I was going through very well. So well that I didn't think much of it. It was so easy, seemingly like it's normal. And in essence, it was normal for me. Now, was it normal in regards to what we're taught and told and conditioned and programmed to think it should be? Absolutely not. So, and that's the part where I'm saying I never resolved anything. I just managed it. And through my management of whatever perceived pains or experiences that I was having, it brought me to a place of knowing. This is what we have to do now. We must embrace whatever the experience is, and the payoff, if there is such a thing, if that's what you want to call it, is knowing. The payoff becomes that which you know to be whatever allows you to expand in the realm of reality that you have decided to magnetize yourself to. So if you want to be at peace, if you want to have happiness, if you want to be loving, whatever it is that you want in your life, you must become that. And as you become that, or as you experience being that, you magnetize yourself closer and closer and closer to where you are in a place where that exists. There's no other way. Now, it can happen in an instant, and it can take however long it takes. However, if you're determined and you're resolute about what it is you definitely want in your life, your higher self, your more potent self, whatever you want to call it, will present to you scenarios and situations and circumstances that if you allow yourself to experience them, it will take you, bring you, put you closer to the field of resonance that particular thing that you've imagined exists. This is how it works. And if you're sincerely dedicated to it, it happens quicker. If you sincerely, authentically put yourself, excuse me, in that place where there's no compromise. This is going to happen whether you want it, whether somebody else wants it or not. It's going to happen because you want it. You have the desire for it. You are the catalyst behind. You are the center. You're the centrifugal force that's allowing yourself to be in the portal of that present feeling. And that present feeling is there's actually no alternative. You have a desire, you place your focus, you use your imagination, and it's done. The minute you move in that direction, it's done. And you have to know that. However, the experience is the only thing that is going to liberate you. Running from it does not. Being afraid of it does not. The only thing that will liberate you right now, in this day, in this time, in this paradigm, is that you're willing to embrace your experiences, right, wrong, good, bad, up or down, whatever they may be, and see them for what they truly are. They're experiences. They're things that will allow you to get closer to or become one with whatever the sincere, heartfelt desire is. That's where we're at. And if you're not sincere and you're only playing a game with yourself, because it takes you have to be playing with somebody. You don't have to be playing with somebody. You're actually playing. You can play by yourself, and you have tens of trillions of entities that are cells within your body that you're playing with. So allow yourself to come to terms with whatever it is, and if you haven't come to terms with whatever it is, whatever's been your childhood experience, whatever, because those experiences live. They live in you. What I've realized and come to know is they live in you. Now, you may have buried them so deep you've forgotten that they even exist. But some will bring them, or have them to resurface. Something will happen or can happen to make. Now, how you deal with that is the next question. Not really a question, but it's a rhetorical one. However, what you do and how you deal with them is what will determine if you become liberated or not. How you concern yourself with the consciousness that you stream as a result of your experiences with those buried, or so-called you thought were buried, feelings, emotions, experiences, whatever. So it's important that we be honest with ourselves. You don't have to be honest with me. It doesn't matter. I wasn't there. So, but you were. Now, how sincere and truthful are you about your experiences that you were present with? Did you ignore them? Did you deal with it at the time? Did you shove it under the rug and say, I'll get back to that later? Or did you not know how to deal with it? I mean, there's a lot of reasons why we push things aside or shovel stuff under the rug. There's no reason, there's no excuse, there's no problem with that. You know, it's where you are. It's what's going on in your life and where your consciousness is in that moment. Not a good or a bad thing. It's just, this is where you are, this is where I am. And it's okay to be in a place of where you don't remember, or you don't know how, or nobody taught. It's okay. However, after you become mature enough, you must be honest and sincere with yourself. This is part of what we've been conditioned and programmed away from. The sincerity and the honesty that it takes to resolve any issue. And what happens is, in attempting to resolve it, you only manage it, but that's not a bad thing. Managing personal things that were, as a child, you couldn't help, or some other people were responsible for, or whatever the case may be. When you're older now, you're responsible. However, doesn't erase the fact that those things existed because it happened as a child, and they're still there. That's the key thing. The key factor here is those things as a child are still in you. You might not act like a child, but they have their moments where they rear their heads up, and it's not an ugly thing. It's just a thing, and it just speaks to how much control or how much we've managed or even became aware of. See, that's the other thing. You may not even be aware of it. However, it's affecting you in some way. So we must be aware of the fact that we've had some issues, because we've all had them. There's no way you can live in a psychotic environment, as is our society, as our world, as our country, or what the environment, not just your physical environment, although that is an environment that you cannot separate from the outer exterior environment. However, you can manage, you can manipulate to some extent. And it's not a bad thing to manage, it's not a bad thing to manipulate. It's only a problem when you're not accepting the fact that you have to do what you have to do. And if you try to act like you're not doing it, but you're doing it, that's a deceptive. And you don't want to be deceptive with yourself, to yourself. So it's really important that we become aware of who or what is in control. Who or what is in control? That is the issue. That's the question. It's not really an issue, it's a question. Who or what is in control? Now, the child that you were, however many decades ago, the emotions that came with the experiences that you had as a child could very well be what is pushing and giving you the strength to move on through whatever it is you're dealing with, or whatever you had to deal with to get to where you are now. Now, if that's the case, then we must understand that there were a lot of external influences that may very well have accompanied that. Unless you were independent, freely able to move about, in and out, wasn't really being kept track of. It appeared that nobody cared, so you were out there running around feeling unloved, not thinking you were people concerned about you. It just depends. And then even that can be that's liberating, actually. You could have also come up in a household where the mama was all on top of you, pushing, probing, chiding, checking homework, reading stories, making sure you got to bed on time, maybe cooked your meals, made sure you had something to wear, fix your lunch, So that's a different kind of experience to grow up in. However, if you had one of more independence where, say you're a single parent, mama wasn't there, you're a latchkey kid or a latchkey child, I don't like kid. Maybe you had your keys around your neck, underneath your shirt, to let yourself in and out. You had to fix your own lunch, get your own dinner, come in and do your own homework, check your own homework, and get up and go to school the next day, and maybe your mom was there, maybe she wasn't, and then when it came time to come home from school, maybe you came home from school, maybe you didn't. Maybe you went to somewhere else, hung out, after school social or events, gatherings, and you got your homework or what have you. That's more of an independent lifestyle for a child. And there were a lot of children that grew up independent, had independent lifestyles. So then you're had more freedom. Freedom of thought, freedom to move around, freedom. You had a lot of freedom. Now you become liberated when you start accelerating the thought processes around your freedom and around the experiences that would express and show you how free you were, or gave you the impotence to even think that you were free. So it's like a lot of little things that depending on the lifestyle, depending on how you came up, depending on what was there, depending on who was there, you know. If you watched a lot of television as a child, and you may have thought you might have wanted, which was a lot of the case of some people, watched a lot of TV, so they became, wanted to be in TV, different aspects of television or in the radio media, a lot of things. It's just so many different. I can't even begin to speak on everything. However, how much of it was actually you? Was it some experience, some exposure to something that someone wanted you to do, or was it more of something you decided you were going to do? And if it was, then what was the impotence for you to push and the determination for you to maintain that thought process? So now, for us to not know that this is a psychotic reality is one that is actually, it can be enjoyable as long as you don't get caught up. Meaning, like the people that are hooked on drugs kind of got caught up. It's one thing to experience it and say, okay, yeah, I like it, but let me move on. And it's another thing to say, well, I like it, and now I can't stop it. Same thing with sex. Same thing with anything. It's about the experience. It's not about how you become weakened by the experience. So then it becomes a what? What is in control of you? If you're going along with the program, your mom, your dad, your family's program, then it's a who is in control of you. Now, what if it's you, but your influences came from family, or came from the TV, or came from the world outside of you? We all have had issues in our lives, and still many do till this day. We all still do, because we're in an environment that is not balanced. So we must know that everybody's being infected by the same virus, and that is ignorance. So what's the experiences? What is your genuine thought processes around what it is you're doing daily? Because regardless to what's in you as a child, regardless to what you've come up through, regardless to how you've managed pain, and we've all been in pain or in pain in some kind of way, the pain has been shoveled so deep and covered over, it's unrealistic. However, we've managed very well to get to a state and a phase where we can say we're happy, or we can say we're at peace, or we can be loving and not be ashamed to be silly and fun and have some enjoyment in our lives. That's where we are if you have the genuine desire to be sincerely honest about what you've been through, where you've come from, and how you've been able to experience a more expanded reality and truth of your being divine. See, because that's what this is all about. All of the experience that you've gone through, all the things that have had to have happened for you to get to a place where you can see the difference, where you can know the difference between happiness and sadness, and love and fear. The opposite of love is fear, not hate. So, at least that's what they say anyway. Who cares? The point is to get to a place where you've resolved, to the extent that you resolved how you decide you want to be, how you have become loving, lovable, centered, whole. It takes you being honest with yourself about what you've gone through. And then strip away blame, strip away guilt. Can't be ashamed of whatever experience you've had. Those were your experiences. Now they brought you to a better place of peace, a better place of power. Then that's why there's no need to be ashamed of it. To be at peace, if you're at peace, if you have love and you care for yourself, whether no one cares for you or not, how do you feel about you? You're not ashamed and you're happy, then give thanks. Find every reason to be thankful because of what you've gone through, because of the fact that you've gone through a typhoon and you live to tell about it. You live to talk about it. You live to say, you know what, man, that was something else. So this is where we are now, family. And we must take stock in knowing that we're divine. All that we've been through and experienced is divinity, not separated, all encompassing. And then it's up to us to consciously not pick it apart, not criticize, but maintain some level of awareness while experiencing it, and then go to the next level, because that's what it's doing for you. To have experiences that you come to terms with, and this is rudimentary stuff. This is, I don't grab, I don't send you to read books and send you to, check this author out and look at this and they said this, and it's not about what they're saying. They've said it. For decades they've been saying who you are. Do you know who you are? It's about self. Know thyself. For decades, people, scholars, you name it, have been talking about it. Now you have to do this. Now you have to live this. How do you live it? By standing in it. Why? Because you are it. That is the bottom line. Stand on it because you are it. Live in it because you are already. You're already living in it. You're already in it. You are it. Every day you wake up, show up, look out the window, look in the mirror, you're looking at it. It's you. So, be fearless. Know thyself. How do you know thyself? Well, you can't be afraid to go into the darkness. Whatever that is. You came up, rough life, this and that, whatever. It's you. You can't run from it. Everywhere you are, everywhere you go, there you are. So what you running from? It's ignorance. You can't run from yourself. You can't hide from yourself. Everywhere you go, there you are. So now, since we know this, we must embrace it. You must embrace it. There's no need to go backwards. You gotta hold on. You don't have to hold on and never let it go, but you must embrace it so you can move forward, move on from it. If you're not embracing it, you won't get through it and you cannot move forward. It doesn't work like, I can ignore that, I'm moving on. No, you can't ignore it. You don't have to let it bog you down, but you gotta acknowledge the fact that it exists, because it does. That's the integrity of divinity. You can't act like it doesn't exist when it does. You can't act like, it didn't do nothing to me, and it did. You must say, okay, yeah, it did something to me, here's what it did, or this is what I think it did, or the fact that you are analyzing, or at least putting some consciousness or some awareness of consciousness around the moment of what it is or isn't, takes you to the next level. You dare to step into it, embrace it, and at least look at what it is or try to resolve it, that moves you along. This is an expanding universe. You are an expanding divine being. Your expansion is not limited to what you were taught when you were captivated by someone who's ignorant or some entities that are ignorant. You're not limited to that. You can move beyond that. You have to want to, though. So this is where we are today, family. And I just don't have no reason to find fault in anything or anyone. I'm just looking for solutions. And while you may not have resolved anything, the fact that you're willing to stand in it, step to it, and look at it, because you can't release something that is bound in you. All you can do is manage it. You can release the idea that you're captive by it and no longer be captivated by it, but it's in you. It's a part of the fabric. And it's not a bad thing that it's a part of the fabric. It's a thing. That's just part of it. However, you're not restricted, or nor are you defined by it. That is not the end of it. That is not the beginning of it. That's just a part of it. We must know these things. And when you know these things, you begin to know thyself. When you know thyself, you are able to move beyond your experiences. Because that's what this is all about. Having these experiences are to allow us to move, and eventually go through them. Not to allow them to captivate or lock us down or keep us captive, held captive. And I'm so sorry, and I feel so bad, and I'm so angered, and this is so terrible. Whatever it is, acknowledge it and keep it moving. Now if the hurt and pain was so traumatic, because that's what it takes to kind of lock you, is the trauma, levels of trauma. So if it was so traumatic, then go in, acknowledge, get to the bottom of what is or isn't the linchpin that's holding you there, see it for what it is, and then move on. And then speak to yourself about allowing yourself, I am liberated in this now moment, because I know, because I was not afraid to see it for what it was or is, because I'm being honest and sincere about the fact that I was hurting. That hurt. I may not have been aware of the fact that I was hurting and it was hurting. However, I was hurting. So we have to acknowledge it, give thanks, and move. This is some of the hardest stuff we're ever going to have to do, family. But once you do it and you know what you're doing, because you decided you want to do it, everything moves smoothly. Everything's become more balanced. It took some time to get out of balance. It may take a blink of an eye to get in balance, but it starts with a thought. So this is all I know. This is all I gotta say, and I give thanks for this day. Peace.